A pale silence stretched after the final scream had faded. Before the world dared to breathe again, they stood side by side, fingers so close, faces stripped of expression. They didn't touch. They never had. The doubt was louder than desire. What now? What next? They needed to recall where they came from, to know what is to come. They both remembered. They remembered the quiet indifference of the sky. Their presence neither a breach nor a blessing, just a ripple in the ongoing weave. Beneath that sky so often marveled at, so often answered with thunder, snow, and storms, they drifted, stitched into a moving fabric, finer than their patience, stronger than their spine. But neither of them wove. Their condition, whether ungrateful or simply ungrasped, begged a question. Was it the world that denied them, or was that the shape of their own perception? Instinct urged them toward shade, and yet instinct itself was burning. How can one trust the very tool that trembles under truth? They didn't know. They couldn't. Would perspective bend fate, or would it merely refine it into gold sand? Wouldn't it still slip through their fingers if they tried to grab it? To navigate demanded open eyes, but the light either flared too bright or dimmed too low. Beneath every scorching sun, as the thick, baked air filled their lungs, pressing from within, rays pressed their heads down while their eyes narrowed and their brows furrowed. Beneath every full blue moon, their eyes replenished, their skin cooled by the breeze, freshly stirred by the moon's breath. Their exhale matched the breeze. In those moments, their hearts fell into a rhythm and surrendered. Their eyes wanted to rise in joy, but they were still burned and burdened by heat. They did not blink. Blinking was for those who trusted what they saw, and these two saw too much. Choice was absent, doubt thickened, swelled, became a second skin. With divergence came danger. The earth tolerated their weight, but only just. At any misstep, earth remembered its hunger. Their steps were weightless, but they grew heavier with every stride. No wind nor sound touched them. Only time grew thick, then locked them closer, then pulled them apart, then brought them back closer. Each tidal wave made way to the one that followed. Still, they never spoke of it. Words were too heavy, words divided, but they stayed close. Words were sprayed like sparks, vivid, brief, none reached the other intact. They had long since discovered that gestures, small shifts in distance, the tilt of the chin, the way the open palm trembled ever so slightly said more than voices ever could. At times one would pause, gaze over their shoulder as if someone had whispered their name. The fabric around them paused too, not in understanding but curiosity, not what the other heard, but what was heard. Each held one hand open, glowing, trembling, brave, while the other remained curled. Now that they remembered what they had been through, the still air stirred again. They were fatigued, silent, and on the brink of collapse. The fine threads held them. They've always been there. After all, its weave had always been too fine to be seen. The thin threads laid in wait for the fiery souls to appease and halt the flames, sparing everyone from ruin.